Okay, what I want to discuss on this video is multisensory learning. Simply put, multisensory learning is the best way to teach. It is involving all of the senses, not just auditory, kinesthetic, and visual, but bringing in every sense, every input that the brain can take to learn. When you do that, it creates more neural connectors in the brain to each fact or each concept that you're trying to teach. The more neural connectors to that concept or that fact, the better the brain is going to remember it. And the better, years in the future, that the brain is going to be able to pull that information back up. Now, to illustrate what I mean by multisensory, I want you to think about something, an experience that you had, or something that meant something to you many, many years ago when you were a child. I want you to think about the things that you remember about that specific time, that specific thing that you learned. Maybe it was a trip you went on, maybe it was something that your parents taught you, maybe it was time you spent with your grandparents. When I think about times that I spent out at my grandparents' house, I can remember so many little details, and it's because of how many multi-sensory inputs that I got at the time. I can remember the smell of the food that my grandmother would make. I can remember the squeak of the chairs that I sat on to eat breakfast with my grandfather. I can remember the smell of the Sacramento River because they had a beautiful house on the river. I can remember so many little details, not just of things that I saw, but things I heard, things I smelled, the taste of the food she cooked, the feeling of the breeze coming off the river all over my skin. That is multi-sensory input. And that is what you want to try to accomplish as often as you possibly can when you're teaching. Now, obviously, it's not practical, or you can't always do that. But the more that you can incorporate it in your day-to-day learning, the better your child's going to learn. Now, there's a couple ways that you can make multisensory learning a part of your teaching. If there's ever any kind of project that you can do outdoors, do it outside. Because when your body is outside, you're constantly receiving input from every single sense in the body. And that's multisensory learning. Science projects are great to do outside because half the projects are going to involve the outdoors anyways. Any of the earth sciences, try to teach as much as you can outdoors. And then if you're doing chemistry projects, do them outdoors anyways. I mean, it makes a big mess, so you might as well do it where it's easier to clean up. Another really good way, and probably my favorite way of doing multisensory learning, or teaching rather, is to do field trips. Field trips are excellent ways to address all of the senses and to give the brain a picture of something that it may not be able to get just from a book. Now, that it definitely won't be able to get just from a book. So as often as you can create, or you can incorporate rather, any and all field trips into your learning, please do it. If you're looking at doing science, try to find out any areas within driving distance, within a couple hours driving distance of your home, that have hydroelectric plants, or geothermal plants, or wind energy, or solar energy. Sometimes all you have to do is just do some investigating in the local newspapers and find out what's been covered lately. Chances are, even if it's an individual's home that has retrofitted their house to go green, they'll almost always love to have visitors and show off what they've done. So incorporate field trips in that as often as you can. If you're studying any kind of history, field trips are excellent as well. We went down to a Maine fort that existed many, many years ago during the California Gold Rush, and they've maintained it, and they conduct all kinds of field trips there. And it is a wonderful multi-sensory learning experience because the kids are able to actually walk through those big, huge doors that used to protect the people in the fort. They're able to walk around and look at what it was like living during that time period. They're able to see and smell the wood burning and the ironwork, and just experience all of the sensory inputs of being in that place where 200 years ago or 150 years ago, there were individuals living and during that time in history. So trying to incorporate as many field trips into your curriculum is an excellent way to include multisensory learning. So whenever you can, stop and think, how can I take this lesson that is contained in this book and change it from an auditory black and white lesson and make it a multisensory lesson? The more neural connectors, the better the brain's going to learn. So incorporate multisensory learning whenever you can.